Whatever.
Five thirty. Call the Public Works Committee. A meeting to order. It's Wednesday, January 10th at 5:30. Let's stand and salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item on the agenda is December 13th minutes, Public Works minutes. What's the committee's pleasure?
I've had a chance to review the meeting minutes from the last meeting, and I would like to make a motion to approve the Public Works Committee Village Somerset meeting minutes from December 13th.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes from December 13th as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Public comment. Anybody here for public comment tonight on the agenda item? 2 minutes per person, 14 minutes a topic.
So I guess. I did bring some guests with me this evening from MSA, so I can do that during the project update, so we can do it now, Donnie.
Whatever, if there's nobody else on their public comment, I'd be happy to entertain it now.
All right, thank you. With me this evening is Rob Uphoff. He's the Public Works Service Line Leader.
Meet you all.
And then Brittany Mitchell, who's head of our funding group, and they're in the neighborhood, both of them. From our variable office, but they're up here, they're interviewing a potential another funding person, because what do we have, like 15 now, 14?
14.
Yeah,
So, I don't know, Rob, if you want to say a few
yeah,
words, or-
so I've been, I just wanted to stop by because I was heading this way and in 2024, I really want to get out to try to see some of our clients that, I don't necessarily see them out of the Durable office. I've been with MSA for 34 years. So I do a lot of what Chuck does, public works related stuff. But in addition to that, I do a lot of potable water. So I do a lot of water wells, actually. It's kind of one of my little things that I still like to do when I'm not running around. But yeah, I just I thought I'd stop in and put a face to a name that I might stop back in this summer and I'd call in advance, so I'd love to come back up and just visit to see if how we're doing as a company, right? And if there's anything we can improve on, that's kind of one of our goals, to make sure you're always happy. And sometimes maybe you don't always tell Chuck, but you can tell me.
Well, don't worry, we tell Chuck.
I just don't know if Chuck tells you.
Yeah.
Chuck is welcome to get it.
Yeah, and then I would just, because Brittany's, with me today, I just let her maybe speak to herself because, I think funding is such a big critical thing for you as communities, there's so many other programs and little grants that come out that they're tracking all year long, so,
Yeah, so my name is Brittany Mitchell. I'm the funding team leader out of the variable office. Like Chuck said, we got 13, 14, including myself, but 13 on my team that solely does funding. So we're looking at grants and loans all the time. So we rely on client liaisons to tell us what kind of projects you guys have, what kind of funding you're looking for, and we can get that information back to him to share to you.
Any
So-
money the government, another entity can give to us, we'll gladly.
Right?
I think you were mentioning this to Brandon earlier, but we have this Friday funding forum
yeah.
at the end of the month typically. And, where there's about 40 of us, probably close to 10% of the company
Mhm.
attends this meeting, and if people have harebrained ideas or whatever, and say, my clients got this on their wish list. Anybody have any thoughts? And it's an opportunity for all of us to learn from each other and brainstorm and, do things that way. So just kind of using the collective, because the majority of our work is in Wisconsin, and so that's where we're the strongest.
So are all of those funding endeavors related to the same type of services the MSA is providing for us, or is it broader?
It can be broader, we've
We've
done,
looked at all kinds of programs that we don't even have anything to do with, but if it's a program that can get you some money to do something, then well, there's a lot of stuff that we get the money for you and that's the end of it.
like the FEMA grants, we do those things, our part is a lot of those.
Yeah.
For fire departments and that, what have you.
Yeah, we're just a resource to help you get things done, and it's more about what you wanna get done, and I think I said earlier, sometimes, you'll have a wish list or a capital improvement plan, and, you'll have them all ranked, and certain programs maybe don't apply, but sometimes we find these one-off programs that are hot in 2024, and it's like, well, maybe then you should think about moving project number 6 up, because this may not happen again, so that's what their team does, is just listens to us and then tries to align the funding to whatever your need or so.
So then Brittany would talk to Chuck, Chuck would talk to us, right?
Yeah.
Saying, hey, this is what's hot and what's not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Well, it's
Or you can
welcome.
come up again and talk to, so.
You're always welcome.
And now that you've met her, Bob could
Yeah.
certainly is welcome to call either one of you.
Yeah. Anytime. I got some cards. for you guys.
Thanks for
So-
coming.
Yeah, thank you. It was kind of unannounced, but it was like, it was opportune timing, so I thought, I kind of said, Chuck, do you mind if I come along? Or we come along?
You couldn't think of a better thing to do?
Well, I think when you're out
We've
of
had
town,
some
it's
pretty
like,
good meetings down here. It's a pretty rowdy meeting.
yeah, they're on YouTube.
Now you're on YouTube as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, welcome and thanks for coming. And you're always welcome here. Great village of Somerset, so.
So I guess you want me to jump into project.
Might as well take the next helm on this sheet of paper of project updates.
And hopefully you've had a chance to review it. Things are slowing down now that Pineville subdivision, the plan commission last week recommended approval, so that'll go in front of you folks on the board next week. They're hoping to start that first phase, as soon as humanly possible. So there's some permitting and things that they need to do.
I just have a quick question on this. So are we planning, most of the traffic is probably heading south out of there. Is that most of it gonna run out of 80th down to the freeway? Because the only reason I'm thinking about it is because 5 o'clock, 3 to about 5, LaGranger, there's pretty hard to take a left-hand turn on the 35 there. For 60.
Mhm.
So I'm just, trying to think ahead of potential traffic issues that we might run into if we had, obviously the first phase, we're gonna be all right, but when we get to 233 new homes in there, or 160, whatever it is, that's gonna be a lot more traffic.
Mhm.
And most of it's gonna flow south, I would think, towards,
But also south, right?
well, they'll have to come south out of it, but they'll either go to 90th and go down, take a left down 35. Or flow down LaGranger or 80th.
Right.
So have we given any consideration to that traffic flow and how that's gonna change with that new subdivision?
It's certainly something we're monitoring. Bob and I talked about it a couple days ago, just from the standpoint of TID 5 as well, because, where this traffic will be coming down, TID 5 will be coming up there, and so.
Yeah, from LaGranger to Parent Street.
Yeah, so, be it a roundabout or lights or
We
whatever.
need a intersection and, control enhancement study with the DOT on that.
You are.
So at some point, no, we
Yeah.
already have,
Okay,
at some point, there's a trigger that's going to say, the DOT will tell us, you need to improve that intersection.
Got
We, of course, can tell the DOT, we would like to improve that
oh,
intersection,
it's not a road.
but there is that study that does dictate when, improvements have to happen to that intersection.
What's the thresholds on something like that?
I don't
Is it
know. I'd have to go
traffic
back
and
read the
or,
read the report, which it doesn't really ever give you a simple number.
yeah,
It's,
there's a lot of different triggers, I suppose, that have to be met in
Yeah.
order for that,
You know,
certain amount of traffic, certain amount of accidents,
are-
exactly.
Are one that the DOT really likes to, do some data on.
Uh-huh.
It's more accidents, they're not as proactive as we might be.
Mhm.
Cause we obviously see things that they don't, so they rely on pure data versus us, or in our interactions with
Mhm.
intersections and things like that, so.
So if I trip and fall while I'm walking through the intersection, does it help us out?
Just don't get run over.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot.
They can't say they.
Made, not killed, made, not killed.
Mhm.
No jury would believe they couldn't see me.
But you know what, so eventually that's gonna be an issue, cause right now it's tough to get out on 35 at certain times if you're taking a left-hand turn. You know, if you're taking rights, it's not too bad, but a left out of there is tough and a left
One,
out of
190th?
90th going on to
On
190th.
35?
Yeah,
190th on to 35?
yeah, Tons Road.
So.
Well, how many houses are going in there?
30.
So it's the size of the meadows.
A little bigger.
I mean, getting out of.
But you also moved it off on Laser,
But
right
sometimes.
from LaGranger?
Leave 10 minutes earlier.
Yeah, if you're going north,
Right.
but I'm
rather
figuring
taking
back
LaGranger
more
all the way to 190th and going up.
left, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I know the back roads, so
right,
I'm gonna be fine.
yeah.
Say those folks, find folks moving in. I just wanna say, just wanna make sure that we're cognizant of it and we have a plan. That was by me. It sounds like we are. Thank you. That was all.
Well, great, so, Growing Wings, that continues, they pretty much have everything done, they just need some electrical and still building their building. We'll have. Still reviewing partial pay apps for, Spring Street and Main Street improvements. Along with, early this spring, we'll presumably have, final pay apps and then also with each one of these, we'll have a quantity adjustment change order to kind of true up all the quantities and things, so. You'll see that for the Spring Street and the Main Street Bridge and, the wastewater plant.
Was the leak fixed? I said there was a slight leak in the Main Street Bridge joint. Has that been fixed?
It kind of self-corrected itself, so when we turn that on, the pipe deflected a little.
Oh, okay.
And I think that was just its natural setting point where okay,
Then it's seated?
now I'm good.
Okay.
And because we did run it under pressure, we pressurized that main quite a bit. And we tried to blow it apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, testing pressure leads, but operational pressure, it seems to be doing fine.
Good.
And they're gonna be putting in more support this spring.
So they still need to fix it?
Yeah,
It is fixed.
there's some bracing.
There's a hanger that needs to be installed and some more additional insulation. That's. See if we make it through this week.
That's basically the highlights. I don't know if there's anything else, any questions you have for me, gentlemen?
You said, you got, punch list items that still remain at River Hills. Is there a chance that we could get a copy of that list of punch list items and review it, later on down the road here, so we know we can get ready for what needs to be done in the spring and get a timeline on getting that, finished off?
Sure, happy to get that to you.
Okay, same thing with, I think,
Winds up,
Right, exactly. Yeah, winds up, they've made significant progress last fall, right before, winter set in, but I just wanna make sure looks like they're doing some work on drain tile and catch basins, but I know we're still waiting for their plans and that's all. If there's any punch list items that we need to, make sure that they're getting done, I'd like to at least know what those are going into the spring.
sure.
When will we start getting or meeting on the TAP grant for the trails? When will that start getting a little steam here?
I should have put that in my update and then to. Thursday, is it the 18th at the library?
Yeah.
And we're having a public information meeting And the 18th. I can verify.
Okay, and we'll get that on the website, or we'll get it on Public Work, we'll share it on Facebook, Public Works.
All over the place, even on YouTube. Thursday, no.
I guess it's on YouTube, yeah.
Do you want me to draft the letter? I have it.
Oh, sure. So part of the grant requirement
Public input,
requires us to have PIM.
Okay.
You know, so the DOT will come. Actually, DOT doesn't join us for this.
Okay.
Just a consultant that's doing the design and.
What time is that again?
myself,
6?
I don't remember.
she's grabbing.
I'm looking to keep these dates straight. 5:36.
Well, they progressed it up, which was good. Started.
And then you'll get, can we post that on Facebook? Tell everyone to come out.
It's 4 to 6.
So everybody that is, I would, impacted by this has gotten, letters in the mail, with the information and then, opportunity to provide comments, email me. And, or bring those comments to the meeting.
All good, Brendan?
Yes, sir. Can I keep, is this mic?
Thanks,
can I
Chuck,
have
for
this
your
copy?
report.
Um,
Unfinished business, the discussion possible recommendation, the ordinance future fiber optics.
Yeah, so this has been out there for a while and I finally got around to doing it. So I've typed up an ordinance, basically 1 page. Has the purpose and intent in there, basically outlining that we should have installation of internet infrastructure. We should plan for that. It should be installed per relevant regulatory standards or industry best practices. So kind of giving some leeway in there in regards to that. And then it should be done by in order to get the certificate of occupancy, internet will have to be functioning.
What if they don't have internet is it internet or fiber optic?
Fiber optic cable or
So what if they don't have fiber optic cable?
Broadband.
broadband. Should we define speed in there? I'm okay to that. No. I guess that's not up to Bob, I
don't
guess,
know how to answer that.
okay,
Well, is it up to Bob or?
no, it's not
Oh,
really,
That's-
it
I was
is,
gonna say.
Caleb, what do you think? Keep it loose enough to say, should we go broadband or fiber optic, do you think it,
Well, the intent was
just
for internet, right?
Yeah,
Because
I'd just say internet services.
just leave it internet
my bigger
services.
concern is if they don't have fiber optic in their area, are they gonna be required to run fiber optic all the way up to their residence?
Well, I know, so, yeah, that in the future, yeah, specifically, I know it's ready for, Pine Cliff or Pine Vale. I know it's ready up there, so they're already
New
planning.
developments, I can understand.
Yeah,
I think that's where you were saying, is it all new, but
this is
when you have-
specifically for new developments, yeah.
was any of this, kind of put by or ran by, the village attorney for their, just to make sure it was compatible with, any state requirements? You think maybe we should at least let him look at it and get his opinion on it?
I mean, I think if he gives it a look at the meeting and likes it, it will probably be good enough, otherwise it probably won't be ready by next meeting, by the board meeting, I would say.
Item C here. Some unsolicited advice maybe is to word that.
Oh,
What I can foresee as somebody, the house is done, I'm ready to move in, but they're behind on the fiber or the internet. And this would prevent them from moving in. So,
I mean, but they need their internet. when they
Right.
Move in.
right, so let's say, hey, it's gonna be 3 weeks. Somebody's,
Well, it should already be ran if they're figuring it into the plan,
right,
because that way it should be already ran to the house.
it should be.
And that's
Well,
what,
But that's what I'm saying is that if it is, if fiber, if we're talking broadband, or are we talking fiber or?
Internet services.
Okay. And is the house required to have full run of the internet service prior to it being connected?
I would just have to say it had to be able to have one port that could support a Wi-Fi router.
Because right now, a telephone line could support a Wi-Fi router. Mine does,
Yeah,
and so, now that's why I don't know if we're saying we have to completely, that's a little vague in that regards. I understand the intent. I'm not unopposed to this. I just think that we're kind of dialing in a little bit. Maybe we just want to make sure that we're not requiring them to have a complete, what do you call, smart home before they get a certificate of
Yeah.
occupancy, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, really.
I just want to make sure, we're not in that regards. Otherwise, the rest of it is not necessarily, that big of a deal. My bigger concern is that there's, internet or capability of internet for the provider at the proximity and not being a major expense for that person to run a line all the way down to current areas where there's no, and I don't know if that's the case.
No, it would be there and it would be ready. They wouldn't need to do that $200. They wouldn't need to run, because the other angst that is caused is first you have to get a temporary line and then you have to get it buried. So that costs $500.
Mhm.
And you could have a temporary line sitting for, my temporary line sat out for months. And I've seen.
Well, that's on the provider though, right?
Not nuts. They don't have, so they don't
The
have,
homeowner is not required to bury that line.
no, but Northwest doesn't actually bury cable. They have to get a contract.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
And the contractors are out 6 weeks behind the internet. Or 6 weeks or farther behind, so. The cable would be there able to run the internet, and I know the certificate of occupancy might cause some issues, but this needs to have some teeth somewhere. I don't know where else to put it in, so it has teeth.
Could you add something that, or, at the discretion of the zoning administrator or something?
Don't even administrator, I don't think right now.
Or somebody, that.
Just, I put it to the discretion of the building inspector. We're doing,
For the homeowner, but what would the system be to? No, the intent's to have internet when you move into your house. You move into your brand new house, you got a stove and you got everything.
You got
everything else that
water,
works.
you got sewer.
Yeah.
and You got internet and power, right?
Yeah,
That's the intent. So I think that's what if. Yeah, I'd like to look at this, or at least run it by, legal.
Yeah. I agree.
At least one time before we make a recommendation to the board, and if he's got any kind of concerns or anything like that, then he could bring it out. I don't disagree with the certificate of occupancy issuing. But if there was an issue with certificate of occupancy, we could talk to the building inspectors about that. They're the ones that kind of approve COs anyways, don't they?
Yes.
So if it would really be on the building inspector, I think, at that point in time to sign off on a CO if he knew that internet was 3 weeks out before it got buried.
If the mechanism's already there and in place and we don't have to add another system of control, then yes. Yeah, I think it doesn't hurt to table it, send it to legal and table it for one more month, because I don't think there's gonna be a whole lot of houses put in.
Well, okay, so the issues really are the mechanism for CO. If internet is not ready. I mean, you met with the internet providers. And the internet provider is committed to ensuring that everything will be to these developments and without a major expense to the.
So for Pinevale, it's already down at the junction of the
Right,
branch,
Pinevale,
they're
but
ready to run it.
What about Wines App?
They're out running cable right now,
Okay,
so, Wine Sap. I don't know, we should check, I'm imagining they already have.
and I'm just looking at current, I mean, if River Hills got everything, right? That's all fiber over there?
The new section the old section is getting it ran right now.
Okay,
But yeah,
Cause I know we don't have fiber yet where we're at. And I don't know if they're gonna put Wi-Fi on there, I don't know.
I think they're working your way over there street by street.
Okay, well,
But
again, we haven't gotten it yet, cause I'd be interested in it.
yeah, no, it's good. to
So I think, you're okay with, running it to legal and we just get these issues addressed. One of them was the CO, one of them was the, just making sure it's not actual fiber, but internet, right?
Internet services, I think.
Internet services.
High speed, we put high speed, that is that, so.
That makes sense to me because the phone line isn't,
Well,
new house builds don't even have phone lines.
they
I
don't.
don't think I
No.
know. I think I have. it.
Well,
But I
I
think
thought
about
they
it.
had to have phone lines.
No.
Well, they don't have a
I don't
phone
have a
line and they
phone
can't
line.
hook up internet, right?
Right.
So then they'll have to go fiber. If that's all that's provided for them.
Speed would be the caveat we could lace in there.
Okay. And then it's not required of the whole, it's just a matter of, a point of service to connect, no different than electrical box connection. You need to have electrical box connection in order for them to make the connections, right?
Yep, and then it's on them if they wanna call West or whoever to look it up.
To activate.
Okay. I'll make a motion to table this, forward to legal to get, their opinions on that for the point of service only providing and, high-speed internet, is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
High-speed service, I should say.
Yeah, his. Speed.
And I think the only, that's my motion.
Ready for a second?
Motion made, and seconded to forward to legal, for opinions on, I forgot, the certificate of occupancy, point of service, and ensure that it's high speed and not fiber, high speed service and not fiber optic.
Who's doing that? One of us, Amy.
Yeah, well, I could send it over to him, and then we can get, opinion back from him.
Perfect.
Good.
And, that's motion made and second. You okay with that, addendum on that with the CO?
Yeah, yeah.
A motion made and seconded with, those three items, for clarification and opinion from, legal. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
I,
Aye, all opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Next item on the agenda is GPS tracking. And which vehicle? Discussion possible recommendation, I know it's a kind of a controversial thing, but, I don't know if we're necessarily saying as much as GPS tracking as we are as to looking at, with the plows and stuff like that being out and about. And, if there's any, concerns on that, I know the, finance had, put into the budget to allow up to $2,000 for that. And, there's been different numbers that have put forth. I guess what we're looking for is, what items we'd be looking at for not necessarily put GPS tracking, but also, whether or not we get cameras installed in a couple of our plow vehicles and what, what we're gonna do there. I know we got I believe there's 12 vehicles, a couple of them we were talking about selling, right? So what's your thoughts on that?
can I share my thoughts before Bob?
I was just asking if you had any opinions on that. I know a couple of the people had concerns and wanted to see what, the public works director had in regards to that. Are you okay with this?
I don't know. On a practicality, I don't know really how this is gonna benefit me or the department.
It is
So at least that.
in regards to being able to track it, you're expanding the roads, are getting more and more. We're growing
Mhm.
and, looking at it from an efficiency and being able to determine, how the crews are getting into those areas, where them areas are getting done. In order to, as we grow and continue to grow, being able to determine how much time that's going to take in order to maintain it, more on the plowing end of it than anything else. And if there's any damage done, or somebody making a claim of damage, whether they have or haven't at this point in time, is whether or not you can look back at that and determine whether or not that has happened, or absolve the individuals from any kind of claims that somebody would make towards that.
Okay.
Now, I was just looking at it from an efficiency, that's why they didn't really put a whole hog on all of the vehicles. Is more looking at it from a plowing standpoint of trying to determine, you know, as we grow and we have branched out, now we're looking at other areas to start plowing when the other developments get out, that's going to be that much more on the road.
So help me understand how a tracking system is gonna help make that more efficient.
So if you're in one area and they're jumping into another area, or if they're able to go through this area and be more efficient because of timing, when they're going through much slower because they might be running into traffic issues in that area. And they would be, okay, well, let's not take care of this area first. Let's take care of this area because there's less traffic in that area. We can move a little faster and be more efficient up in let's say, Windsap. We can be much more efficient taking care of that area first and then hit the meadows and then go someplace else. Or, oh, the meadows, we're really slow in that area because we're doing it during school time, and we're catching a lot of school buses and so on and so forth. That's an example. It gives you that data that you wouldn't have otherwise to be able to understand that and work through that and be able to say, yeah, that's a lot slower. It's not really to look after, everybody said it was to track individuals. Heck, if individuals want to be tracked, they can be tracked. That's not the issue. The issue is trying to develop an efficient process so our guys can do their job and also benefit them by not having anybody coming out saying that they weren't doing their job correctly.
How many mailboxes could we buy for $2,000?
We haven't bought any yet, but if it hits a person or somebody else, that's
I
the
mean,
only
it
concern.
sounds like this is a solution in search of a problem. I'd like to take that money and put it towards a new plow. I mean, or some type of equipment or an outlay. We can tell you where the vehicles are. They're down at the shop or they're in the village. I
Well,
see
now when
them.
they're plowing, they're out and about plowing, and that's what I'm saying is that we're talking
It's that
about.
complicated that we need $2,000 to make it, that
We don't need 2,000.
We'd have to
That's
be-
what they,
we'd have to be way more efficient, gain a ton of efficiencies.
Yeah.
In order to save $2,000.
Does the system tell you where you plowed and where you haven't?
Mhm.
It does?
Yeah, it's just tracking it. He'd have access to where he was at and everything.
So would it fill in our grid? Like,
That's what they proposed to us when we were at the meeting that one day.
and then,
I mean, they got it to the point where they could actually track whether or not trucks are idling or not idling. If you want to get that in depth with it. But I don't think we need to get into that. It's more of an issue of having the ability to, track the grids and determine the patterns, and they actually, like I said, they have it hooked up on the system where they determine fuel usage and so on and so forth. So, I mean, it gets into more of a technical thing, and it's more of technology. We're just accepting technology into our village. It's no different than getting a new piece of equipment or a new computer system in. We don't say, well, this one's good enough because we're not ready for that yet. It's let's look at this and see if we can make it much more easier, much more efficient for our guys out in the field.
If you could quantify that in a dollar amount, perhaps I would be on board for.
Well, I think it was
supporting that
$50 a month is what it would have come out to be.
Of savings,
No, as far as quantifying the dollar amount,
of savings that we would save.
well, we don't know because we haven't gotten there yet. That's why I said it's $50 a month. We could try it. If we don't like it, if we can't quantify it through one season, we can always discontinue it. There's no ongoing commitment on that. And it's the $2,000 was an up to amount. It wasn't an automatic. So you're looking at $50 a month if we got what, 2 plows?
2 dump truck plows.
Yep, and then we got 2 truck plows, right?
2 truck plows.
So, huh?
Payloader.
Well, if you wanna put it on there, I'm just saying, I don't know how much you want, does the payloader make more sense to put it
I'll
on
be
there?
honest with you, this tractor is not gonna do anything for our efficiency. The staff they're veterans,
Lived here their whole life.
earliest tenured person is maybe 7 years. They know where the traffic is, they know where to go, they know when to get off the roads, they know when to have things salted and what time that's supposed to be salted. If they don't, they get direction from Jim or I to let them know. And obviously, if the street's not been plowed, we're gonna know about it, real quick. Each person has a designated route that they plow.
And you work with the town too. The town.
We do work with the town. We coordinate efforts there as well. But each individual's assigned the same spot every time, so I know who the snowplow driver is in that area, in that neighborhood. In your neighborhood, I know who it is, Donnie, in your neighborhood, I know who it is in yours. They're all 3 different people. And I know Brian will do.
What if he calls off?
Pardon?
What if he calls off? You put somebody else on?
Sure.
Okay. I would hope you don't know where you guys are, I mean, I kind of figured that's a point, but that, I was just looking at it from a standpoint of efficiency or looking at it to gauge efficiencies, but if you don't think that you're gonna gain any kind of efficiencies by being able to at least look at it over the course of one season.
So 19 miles of road, we've done in about 5 hours at a full snow. 5 hours.
I think 2,000, and I know you say it's up to, but I think $2,000 was almost our entire budget for improvements in the parks last year. They're close
I
to
don't
it.
think it was, I think it was more, there was much more than that.
Was it?
Yeah.
Maybe it was the year before, but yeah,
What triggers the plow you done? More than an inch,
This trigger plow up right now.
does it?
What's that?
This one trigger. Tonight will trigger a plow.
1 inch? 2 inch?
Yeah, if we've got the police department will contact us if there's slippery, icy conditions, or if we have a situation where we have a lot of, exhaust fluid, black ice on the intersection areas, that we need some additional salt.
4 trucks, 5 hours? Is that what you said?
Yep. 2 plow, and then we have 2 pickup trucks.
Well,
As well.
4 trucks plus the loader? Or does that be 5 plows?
5.
You got 19 miles, you said 5 hours. There's 5 trucks, 5 hours, right? You want me to get you numbers to quantify something like that from, I'm not the guy to put that together. I'm just speaking off of what was provided to us by the GPS provider. So I'd have to go back to him and say, here's what we got. We
well,
got
yeah,
19 miles.
he's trying to sell you a GPS.
No,
tracking
he would
thing.
go
Of
based
course
on,
he's gonna
he
try
would
and-
go
he's trying to
based
sell
on
it.
other municipalities and what they've
I
experienced,
don't,
not
I don't
necessarily a
think we
sale
need
there.
this, Donnie.
Well, I'm just saying, if you ask for quantification, I'd get that from this guy to quantify.
My bar's gonna be really high for this.
That's
I'd
fine.
like to make a motion to use this money for something else. Brandon?
Motion been made to use the $2,000 allocated for GPS for something else.
For park improvements or layaway for a truck. Those specific things, or equipment layaway or parks improvements.
I don't know if we can make that motion.
Well, the money's been given to
A
us.
motion been made. If there's no second, then the motion will die of a lack of a second.
I feel like we've got isn't it gonna go back to finance then, if we turn this down?
Well, as of right now, the motion's on the floor. If there's no second, it'll die of a second, it'll be brought back up later.
Then I'll second it, so we can get the conversation find out if we get the money back for something else.
Or you wanna move it to allocate the money to something else? Well, that's a budgetary item. I don't know, we'll have to run that by him, but, motion made and seconded to allocate the $2,000 for GPS to something else on, the public works budget. All in favor signify, any discussion? The only discussion I have on that is, we all voted on this budget and, approved the budget as it was presented to us, and that was in the budget. It wasn't discussed at that time about that, and now we're at a point where we're talking about, taking the money from that point on the budget and putting it someplace else, when it really should have been discussed at that point in time.
Well, my apologies for missing that, Donnie, because I was never on board with this and I wouldn't let it slide.
I'm not saying you have to be on board with it. You
I would have
state- you can-
discussed it then.
You can gladly state that, this matter be tabled until it be brought back up. And it can be brought back up or not be brought back up. But reallocating money after you've already approved it might have to go to, and I don't know, I'd have to. I can't say it's gonna be that way, but I'm guessing that you're gonna probably have to take this to legal to see whether or not you can change that or not. Because I've never seen them change a budgetary item in the middle of a budget before. I don't know, has that happened before?
Exact question.
Well, it would be coded to a certain area, so this would probably come out to equipment and maintenance line item on the Fund 100, and that's where it would code it to. So it's not like it's defined as an allocation. So if the board's wishes to choose to use the money somewhere else,
Cause that would be the board's wishes, then, right? Okay, any further discussion? All in favor of that, motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
I,
All opposed, nay. I, oppose that, so I'm a nay. The motion's carried 2-1. Next item on the agenda. Actually, I take that back. The discussion possible recommendation of GPS tracking is which vehicles, has nothing to do with the money. How can we make that motion?
You're choosing,
What vehicles?
Like,
There's no
no
vehicles.
vehicles.
Well, yeah, I know, but the motion was to reallocate the money. So that it actually should be called out of order, right?
I don't know. I mean, this is what you had,
Uh-huh,
what you
right.
emailed me was which vehicles.
That's right. So if we're not doing vehicles, how can we, that'd be like us making a motion on something else. That's not on the agenda.
But it still has to do with the GPS tracking.
It has to do with which vehicle. So we're saying no vehicles, but they're not taking the money and going someplace else with it. That motion really is out of order. If you want to deal with the vehicles and you say, well, we're not doing anything with the vehicles,
so I think
And then we
the
can-
intent of and the will of the board has been expressed.
the committee.
The committee of this committee has been expressed. We can bring it forward to the board meeting as such.
I still believe that motion, I believe, is out of order. But I'm asking for clarification on that, but I don't have anybody here to give me that, so. Discussion possible recommendation maintenance on 128 Spring Street lot. We still don't have an agreement with them on that.
These guys, the coffee,
We don't have any agreement that's been presented to the board.
Marino hasn't, no.
There has been no agreement been presented to the board. I have nothing. Have you seen anything?
I heard nothing.
So, as of right now,
We need an agreement for rent? Or?
Just
Yeah,
reaching out,
Anything?
making contact.
I thought Paul stated that there was an agreement. Or am I making?
Paul said there was an offer, I thought, but that's all I seen.
Recovered through insurance, but outside of like just having agreement, they never responded. They didn't respond to anyone. I don't. Marino was gonna reach out, I think at the last board meeting.
Josh.
Josh
Heck.
Heck.
Or Josh
Yeah,
had.
Josh was around.
I thought some dollar amount had been agreed to for quote unquote rent. I could be wrong.
Maybe there was something proposed, but I never saw an agreement and.
I've never seen the agreement, nothing put forward on that end, but I guess my point on that is if we're getting snow now. We've been fortunate enough, we haven't had any snow up until then. I know in, Bob, there's a potential, in your report, you noted there's a potential for, development in them areas. Would it make sense for us to keep them areas cleaned off for the time being?
128 is here.
Yeah.
And then the others.
Are you talking about the other one that, in your report or both? Cause it said lots, so I didn't.
Lots meaning the two by Sportsman's and the tattoo department.
Oh, okay, so not this one. Oh,
I think we should leave this up to Wheelhouse to clear. Exceed that.
Well, that's why we need an agreement or something. That's why we need at what point do we
Well,
say
my-
we've been trying to be nice?
it'd be no different than if we have somebody doing work on it, we do the maintenance on it, we back charge them for it, right?
Well, if there's no agreement, we can't just,
That's my whole point, is that if there's no agreement, then we say, well, we're maintaining our deal here, either you pay us for this or you need to leave.
no, we definitely have to have some sort of agreement. I agree with you on that, and they just have not been responsive. I don't know. How do we get around
I
that?
make a motion that we move this agenda item to the board meeting as written.
I'll second that. Motion made and seconded to move this agenda item without recommendation
Correct.
at this time for discussion, possible recommendation to the village board meeting. Is that what your motion was?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item C, discussion possible recommendation flower pots for Main Street.
flower pots.
Who's got this?
I'll take it.
Huh?
So the Somerset Champions Group has it in, many of their missions to, beautify our downtown specifically. One of our group members had identified these pots, that I wish we had a color photo, because I'm not a designer, but I'll say they're quite beautiful. They look very nice. They're expensive. They're made of essentially a super high grade plastic, all weather, self-watering. The champions did a bunch of research around what would work best and last a long time. So they're getting full private donation to ultimately put forth 12 pots that will adorn our downtown area. Part of the plan there is the people that sponsor the pots will have a placard on the pot. And this is the folks that made this pot happen. And then each year a new sponsor for a much lower amount would actually pitch in to plant them and get them ready. So along with.
So you have a sponsor to purchase them and a sponsor to,
Maintain them essentially.
And the champions will be responsible for those agreements and maintaining those, or?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't wanna put words in Bob's mouth, but he's agreed to help water them. With the same watering that we do on the other.
what about the flowers?
hanging plants. The
That's not-
champions are responsible for that.
Okay, well, cause I know our rate went up for flowers this next year, so are we gonna be still putting flowers out on those hanging baskets all on them? Or-
Yes, yes. Yeah,
So this ain't gonna change any of that on our end.
It might, because we might look at getting salt water and hanging baskets if we only have to water them once a week. That'll save us a ton of time and money. Um, So this is for, talking to Deb Kohler is the person from the Champions.
Mhm.
I said, well, we can see if the village would entertain, spending $1,500 and that would get us 3 of these.
Oh,
Just
just
I can throw that in front of them.
save $2,000 in the GPS.
And just see what the committee wanted to do, but it was a good initiative.
I believe it's, the number could have changed. I believe we have 5 folks that have committed. Purchasing spots, so it's 5. Currently, our goal is that we identified 12 physical locations that we think it would look best. Basically a little bit down Spring here, but mostly on Main. I think there's only 2 actually on Spring in front of the Village Hall. But I could be wrong.
Well, they can go anywhere, right? I mean,
Yeah.
champions can decide where they wanna go, or the sponsor could, if that's the case, right?
Yeah, in working with Bob and the street crew to make sure we aren't impeding sidewalks or causing other issues that we hadn't thought of, but yes, they are 100% movable.
And it's kind of the same thing with your signs, right? Putting the signs out, you just wanted a permission to put the signs out.
Yes, I also have sponsorship agreements for those too.
But that was that approved by us, or was that,
Yeah, the sponsorship agreements.
so we
and
should
the
probably see the
sign
sponsorship
placements.
agreement?
Well, they said the champions were gonna. I guess I took ownership of managing the sponsoring of the disc golf ones because the village, kind of doing it through the village.
But they still the sponsorship agreement still come before this committee before it was given to you, right?
It did, yeah, I drafted it. Yeah, it was basically like $500 for 3 years. Each sign was $500 for 3 years.
Those are
your term.
But at least we should see the sponsorship agreement before, so that we hand it off to the champions, so that we know who's doing what, right? Because you're just putting a sign in the ground, but they could be moving this from here to there or whatever, you know? Guy might say, I don't want it there, I wanna pay for it over here. You know, I think there's some.
I don't think they'll have that option. They,
And that's
the
fine.
sponsorship is, they get their nameplate on it if they fork over the money to buy a pot. And then if they sponsor the flowers one year, there'll be some kind of stick or flag in the pot saying so-and-so sponsored. the
Yeah, it's a
flowers.
great idea. I think that seeing some kind of a sponsorship agreement would help benefit. You know, at least us, so we can put that forth to the full board.
Yeah, if you have those already, it makes sense just to share those, Caleb, or if you need help drafting.
We'll
That,
figure it out.
okay. So, I would like to make a motion to, move this for possible recommendation. For the flower pots in the amount of $1,353.
Oh, you better go down to the bottom.
13. They got discounts, $1,353.
Discount applied, yeah.
Okay, my apologies.
That's okay.
I was looking at the one above it with the 312.
Yeah, usually the most is the one, right?
Right,
So Brandon Crowe make a motion to recommend flower pots for Main Street in the amount of $1,353 to village board.
well, the purchase of 3 of these, right?
3 of them, yeah, in the
Subject to review of the sponsorship agreement?
Oh, yes, subject to review of the sponsorship agreements. They should have that by the time we get to the board meeting.
As a member of the champions, I'm going to abstain, so no second from me.
I continue to see the sponsorship agreement. I'll second that motion. if we see the sponsorship agreements and it's been approved, that it's gotta get, you know, put forth to them so they understand it. Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the purchase of 3 of these flower pots, price of $1,353. Recommend purchase of the flower pots, $1,353. With the understanding of final review and agreement of the sponsorship agreement, right?
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion on the matter? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye. All opposed? All abstain?
One abstention.
Motion carried. Item D. And it was, the spring parts improvements, actually, this was the, in the we had talked about this back at budget time, that we have 25,000 and we put aside, and it was set aside in that, what items or what areas that we need to be looking at for, improvements. You know, our pavilions are in dire need of some updates across the board. And I think, it'd be nice for us to at least get some, you know, possible, bids, in the process of, or discussions of, individuals like Woodstock or other, local providers that would be willing to help with us in partnering with some of that kind of stuff. And if we could get this together, where we could say, well, this is what we'd like to do, and maybe we might be able to find other, partners in our town, like maybe even, you know, I'm just throwing out, there's a lot of SMC, there's, you know, the other, you know, companies. And we say, you know, we all could, you know, pitch in a little bit here and there, kind of like what we did with the library. And we can get we come together as a committee and say, this is our home, this is our park. So, you know, we get our pavilions painted, we get them updated, we get Larry Forest done, maybe we put one out here, put some picnic tables up there. And we put together a whole purchase and say, this is what we want to do, and this is what we'd like to get done this year. And we got some seed money for it. We start talking to some of our local businesses and, or, you know, companies that are in town, and see if they can get buy-in on it, and we can get that accomplished, so we can enjoy a beautiful parks this year.
is there another another option with that much money out there is if there's any possible grants out there, if we could get like an 80-20 grant or something like that, is that something that would be willing to? Is that something?
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm going right to you. You know, couldn't have asked for a better person to show up here.
I definitely don't want to spend on anything boring like layaway for equipment, sorry, Bob, but yeah, improvements would be something, but also, yeah, thinking about matching grant funding, we don't get an opportunity to have $25,000 out there in order to match like an 80-20 grant or a 50-50 grant or something like that, so maybe maybe it is good for us to take a step back and take a little bit of time and.
I would task this committee, you know, you guys mentioned, well, I'll bring something to the table, you know, is that I would task this committee, that we put this on as an agenda item, we say to ourselves, okay, next month, we put something together and say, this is what, you're not gonna get buy-in from any of these local people around here unless you have a plan and put something forth, and they say, you know what, that's something that we wanna take advantage of, and that's what we wanna go forward with.
SMC's not gonna spend any money. SMC's not gonna give any money if you don't have a specific plan.
Well, it's who would, you know, but my point is this, is that, you know, if it's something that you feel, this is what I'd like to get done in my area or this in area, and you feel, and we come as a committee, we recommend this, and we put it to the board, and we say, here's what we got and what our plans are. And if we don't have the funding for it, we find the funding for it, whether it be through public, private, or you know, nonprofits for that matter. You know, there's a lot of funds out here. St. Croix Valley has got, you know, funding grants, opportunities and stuff as well. But if we don't have a plan, it's no different than you putting a plan together at the state level. No, the state ain't gonna give you any money unless you got a plan to put, you know.
And we will be updating your corp this spring.
Right. Right. So having a corp together, but I'm talking about for this year, if there's something that we can say, this is what we'd like to get done this year, that corp still is a 5-year plan of things down the road too.
So do
Including
you
this
want,
year.
do you want us to come up with the proposal for us to split the money 3 ways, or should we come up with one to? Cause I thought of taking my third of the money and figuring out how I wanna spend it, or do you want?
Well, it's not really a third of money, it's coming up with a, collaboration between us as a committee.
Yeah, so that's what I'm asking, how would you like to divvy that out? Would you
If you
like us
got
to
a- if you
dream
got a
for,
s-
do you want me
if
to
you have
dream
a
for
sug-
$25,000?
If you have a suggestion on certain things, and I agree with that suggestion, or Caleb agrees with that suggestion, you might be putting it all on there, and it really, it comes up to, maybe it's pavilions. If you look at our pavilions, if we say, well, this is what we have, if we put a list of 5 items that we want down here, we say we want to get the bathrooms and pavilions fixed up, and we figure out what that's gonna cost, and say it's $60,000. Well, then we already spent this 25,000, now we
Right.
gotta find another 35,000 to go with it, right?
I'm the last person who had ever thought to say this, but maybe we should possibly look at putting in another pickleball court. It's hot, people love it,
Well,
I don't get it, but I'm a disc golf.
Well, Mr. Chairman, are you putting forth a motion?
I'm with, yeah. Oh, well, I'd make a motion that, we, as a committee, develop and come up with a plan, put forth, and it can be in together, in collaboration with the corp. And when's that corp scheduled to roll out?
Next month, we'll start. We wanted to wait for the comprehensive plan to get done. And before we started a new initiative, so.
But some of that stuff could be done and it wouldn't even need to be on corp then, right? If it was gonna come out this year, or it could be put in later
Well, part
on.
of the corp is going out and surveying residents to see what amenities they want, which could differ. It might land right on, we want our pavilions fixed up. Or
Sure.
we want pickleball courts, or
Disc golf.
could be completely something different that they weigh in on. That gives us a little bit of guidance to where they like to see us allocating dollars and
Okay.
improvements.
So I'll make a motion that we, by next month, we have a survey out to our, is that a feasible time to get our survey out to and back? In a month's time, so we can kind of review that as far as what the local residents would be looking at, or you want 2 months, what is it?
I prefer to.
Okay, well, I'll give you a month and a half so we can look at it in 2 months. How's that? My motion is that, in a month and a half, in 2 months' time, we review, and next month, we review some different, items of what we as a committee want to do for parks improvements, and then we can look in 2 months with what the residents want, and see if we can find collaboration, but with a budget and timeline by April.
That's a long motion.
That's why-
I was gonna
My
second
motion,
it, but
my motion is pretty simple, and I'll state it out to you, is that the committee
Yep.
will establish its needs of park improvements by next month,
second,
to be
Oh,
reviewed, and in concert with the following month's survey from the residents in March, and a timeline and budget established by April.
Franco second.
dirty pool.
Is that easy for you?
Yeah.
Okay, you want me to repeat it?
Nope.
Cause I got it.
It's recorded, so
Okay,
it's good.
should roll back tape. All right, any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? Motion carried. E, updated ordinances. This is new business? Or was this old business?
This was put on there from last month.
But it's
For
a old
future
business.
agenda, it was for future agenda items.
Okay, all right.
So, and I talked to Bob, and he said, like, maybe push it back a couple months, just so.
I thought it might be nice just to take a little breather on the committee. We've been pass up a lot of things, so
Okay,
I can maybe look at this in March.
okay,
But if you guys want to familiarize yourselves with the ordinances, and if anything comes out that,
Which
this-
section?
This seems like Anything really related to public works.
Is it Public Works? I usually just hit the search bar and whatever, I just search. And I look up whatever I want specifically. Is there like a section that says Public Works specifically?
You would know if you looked at the ordinances a little bit more frequently.
I just search exactly what I need, Bob. I don't read through
I
the.
think that was a dig, right across and.
Fine, I'll
God,
look at
just
it.
boom.
I'll look at it,
When the
Bob.
smoke clears over here, you wanna make a motion on that, the table till March or?
Yeah, Brandon Crowe make a motion to table until March.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to table this till March. Any
Any
discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed.
I know the ones I wrote.
I'd like to make a motion to have Bob teach an ordinance class.
Motion's out of order.
Out of order.
Public Works, you're welcome, Bob. So I got that one. Public Works Department report.
Pretty short. Staff's gonna be back at the end of the month to finalize the work on the sludge storage tank. We just have a few things there that need to be done to get that operational. We're obviously anxious to get that going, so.
Do we have any, is that the one we're putting the bacteria in yet? Is it still in there or is it not in there now? at
No,
this point
not
in
in
time?
there.
They're
No,
not quite ready yet.
No.
Well, I thought they had it in there already.
They had it in the small tank, but all of the equipment and necessary to get it into the new tank isn't quite ready yet. I checked in with Jim earlier this week.
Okay.
I'm bugging Jim.
That's good.
You know,
So we do have a punch list. We have a deadline next June for those things to be completed. A lot of those are restoration work, some seeding. We're gone that this year just because, weather and, probably a poor growth, rate. So that'll all be completed prior to June. Water utility, I did mention, one thing that's a big, cost item is our water tower, downtown. That, we will need to figure out if we want to, the best route to take is to sandblast that and repaint that. That comes with a 600,000. I don't know if that's gonna be more now, just because of inflation costs, but, 2 years ago, I was given a $600,000 estimate on that because they have to abate, catching all that debris. One of the things we're gonna look at is if we need more capacity, and as we're
Well, we
growing,
definitely need more
as we're
capacity.
growing, so then it might make sense to, choose a different site, or
So what will we do with that one? Then take it down or just leave it there? Until it decays away and, or will we still use it for additional, reserves?
we'd have to look at it. We'd have to analyze that,
yeah, I think most.
The more towers you have, the more maintenance there are. They're not the cheapest thing in the world. They have to be inspected, they need to be maintained.
Well, and that tower's like 80, is that the 86? Is that
As old as one.
1972.
Oh,
Pittsburgh.
Wait,
tank.
the well's 86. Yeah. So yeah, it's about time we'll start looking.
Yeah, so we can't
been a
be
good run.
coded again. So that's just one thing, and then Brandon had asked the timeline, and 2026 is really when we're kind of up against the wall with this decision made on what we're gonna do. Construction year will be 2026 if we're gonna do.
2026 construction, so we'd have to determine it 2025 next year.
So we should give it the time needed.
Is there any studies or anything that we need as far as getting bids or anything like that, so we can decide whether or not we're to be moving to a different area or?
We have water data. Typically, when you start turning towers over once a day, means you need another.
You're doing that and then some
Yeah,
now.
we're doing that.
So if
We
we,
did quite a bit of evaluation when we put that well in, so the information's out there, I just gotta get to the likes of Rob and.
but we wouldn't need
Yes,
another,
it's-
we wouldn't need another well, we would just need another tank. Or would we need another well as well? Would we just put a new tank up there and it would just be larger?
Yeah, well, no, do you need a new tank though? I mean,
We don't know.
yeah,
It's-
we gotta look at that.
It's just
Okay.
the price tag of, repaying that's
It's like steel's not cheap either. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I'd rather look at.
A new tech,
Just get
a new
one.
tank or a new tower is gonna be all of that plus
Oh,
six
yeah.
hundred thousand,
Yeah.
you're probably looking at double that, ain't it, or?
No,
I wouldn't be able to guess anymore.
it's gotta be $10 million. What, $10
What was the rule
million?
of thumb?
No,
It was $1,000 per gallon.
Well, yeah, rule of thumb in the nineties was a gallon to build it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Any steel spheroid's gonna be $1.5 million easy, you know. Depends on how size, what size it is.
How about we make it look like a giant coffee cup?
No, you
Yeah,
can't.
well, Lindstrom.
I know.
Conflict of interest.
Elrip ran
You sell
out
coffee.
for, Pennell and Jermaine Streets, they received that, or their application was good. I don't know when. We find out any results on that, I can figure out and see if I can find out. As we mentioned, the outdoor recreation plan, Pine Bell final plat went through planning commission, that'll go to the board next Tuesday. And then our downtown lot as an interesting developer and that.
So we're just talking about the one between the two.
Right.
Okay.
And there,
When it said vacant downtown lots, I'm looking at two of them, say,
yeah,
I mean,
and there's two lots.
Sportsman's in that one.
And there's two lots, between the sportsman's and the
Okay,
tattoo parlors.
still no takers on the wheelhouse lot.
No.
One question, or actually two questions. It's kind of not necessarily irrelevant, but relevant to this. A couple of the people in our development have been getting a banging on their pipes. In the Maple, is that normal? I don't know, cause I can't hear shit, so,
It's just ghosts.
huh?
It's just ghosts and demons.
Ghost.
Demon? I'll tell them that. I'll say that it's,
Spirits.
is it normal though?
No, we could have some air and track the line. So let me talk to Brian and we'd see if we can.
Okay, well, 610 and 610 Raymond was getting some banging.
It's water hammer, so we can lead off, from construction, there's probably some water.
Yeah, it was prior to construction, and after, that's what she said. I don't know if that, I thought it was gonna go away, and I'm like, I don't know,
And it could just be
I'm not a plumber, so.
they might either a restaurant inside.
Demons is a better way. Okay.
Is it Brenda? Is it Brenda? who
No.
Said it?
Mm.
Okay.
And then the other question was, on the trails out here. A lot of people were concerned about with the little bit of snow we got. Is that, I know we kind of maintain them, do we got like, do we have to salt? I'm not encouraging using salt, but I mean, is there a way to sweep them or something like that, or something? Is that gonna, is it, when would that normally happen, like after, I know normally they go.
We're gonna have to hit it this week, more likely, because there's gonna be some snowpack on it.
Yeah, there was a couple people that slipped on it and they were asking,
Okay.
is that something that I says, well, they said they maintain them, but I'd have to ask, so it just come up today, otherwise I would have reached out to you.
Yeah, in the next coming years, with definitely with that tap grain as well, we're gonna have to, that's almost gonna double how much paved trails we have in the village. And
For maintaining,
yeah, so we're gonna have to figure out getting another cat, and something like that for maintaining those, unless.
Turn them into cross-country ski routes.
We'll be all right.
Proceed.
Thank you for that.
that's all I had on that, so any other questions? Good. 2023, Public Works, Water, Sewer and Park Bill.
Brandon Crowe make a motion to approve the water, sewer and parks bills as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the bills as presented. I'd like to get a chance to review these in just a minute here, because I haven't. These are the actual year end, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
These are the actual year end, budget,
Yep.
all that.
As of Monday.
So and we went over in operating and maintenance for last year, huh? Any other areas that we might have went over in, guys, and
I saw Parks Improvements had some that rolled, but
garages and sheds, 285% over.
yeah, we talked about that. We need to replace the building. Falling apart.
What do we hit so high on maintenance for, maintenance repair this year? It
For
wasn't so bad in December, but
Street
total, huh? Machinery,
Yeah, we had a lot of breakdowns this year.
on what?
Lawnmowers.
We had brand new lawnmowers, I thought, 3 of them.
Yeah, they still need blades, they still need a lot,
Well,
you know, but they take a toll. Ducat. A lot of maintenance this year.
we're definitely under budget for the salt and sand, right?
Yeah.
That's good to see. Motion made second. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying
I,
aye. Opposed, nay.
Brandon, I'll make a motion to roll.
Future agenda item? You can make a motion to adjourn. I'm gonna call it out of order until I get to my agenda.
That's right. No future agenda items.
Champions have asked me to put forth a. And, for lack of a better term, an enforcement of sign ordinances.
That's
so-
done through the building inspector,
Okay.
the enforcement of the sign ordinances. I looked at that same thing before. I don't disagree, but I don't know what public works would have on something like that. It's all building inspector, right?
What if it's on village property?
Is that what you're talking about?
There are some signs down in Village Park.
There's like
I've actually had
14
requested them all. be
pictures
removed.
of signs that two champions went around and took, and they asked me to present it to the board, so.
I'm sorry, Kevin, would you?
The two of the members of the champions went around and took a bunch of pictures of signs. I haven't even looked at the packet. They gave it to me last week and said, will you bring this to the board? So,
You can bring it to the board.
Do you,
I just don't know if it's coming through Public Works, if that's the right committee for it. Because the only thing we could deal with is the ones that are on village property, and I think them were all, I asked to get them all pulled. You know, all of them. So,
if you wanna send it over to me, I can talk to Tony. Yes,
yeah, I can talk to them too.
yeah, I mean, yeah, there's number two.
I mean, you're welcome to put it on the rather than, I think. I would suggest just looking to put it on the regular village board agenda rather than through committee.
Yep. I didn't know
Any-
which committee it would land on, so.
It's up to the president to decide if he wants to, you know, I mean, where you wanna put it, but really it's worthy of a discussion at the board meeting, right? Any other future agenda items? None of you guys got?
Got nothing.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Frank Crown second.
Motion made second to adjourn, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion carried. We are adjourned at 6:47. Thanks for coming out tonight. Very nice meeting you guys.